When you hear the words Feng Shui, what pops into your head? Probably something about, I don't know, moving your couch around for good luck? Superstition, right? But what if that's a profound misunderstanding? What if I told you Feng Shui is actually an ancient user manual for your brain, grounded in some pretty hard science?
Okay, let's just dive right into the heart of this. The central idea we're exploring is that Feng Shui isn't about superstition at all. Think of it more like an ancient manual, just written in metaphors, that describes exactly how your brain reacts to space. It's not magic, it is behavioral neuroscience. And trust me, once you see it this way, you are never going to look at your room the same way again.
To make this all feel real, let's start with a story. A client of mine from last year. His experience just perfectly illustrates the power we're talking about. This isn't just theory. This is a real-world transformation. These were his exact words. And you can just feel the frustration in that, can't you? Here's this classic high achiever, someone who has everything going for him, the drive, the discipline, but his own environment felt like an enemy. The moment he tried to focus, his brain would just shut down. The moment I saw his room, the problem was, well, it was crystal clear. His desk was set up in what neuroscience would call a high-threat position, facing a doorway with his back to a large open space. His brain's ancient threat detection system was constantly, subconsciously on high alert. You add in the cold lighting and all the visual clutter, and you've got a perfect recipe for neurological overload.
So the most crucial thing I explained to him was this. The problem wasn't a personal failure of willpower. His brain wasn't broken. His environment was simply overwhelming his nervous system, making deep focus biologically impossible in that space.
We didn't do anything mystical. We just made simple, structural changes. We moved his desk, adjusted the lighting, and created clear boundaries. That's it. 3 weeks later, he sends me that message. He felt like a different person. Because, neurologically speaking, he was operating from a different state, one of safety and focus, not threat and distraction.
That story just perfectly sets up the core idea here. Your environment is constantly teaching your brain how to behave. So now let's break down the scientific framework for how this actually works.
It's a really simple 4-step causal chain, as you can see. It all starts with your physical space. That space triggers a very specific neural response in your brain. That neural response then dictates your behavior. Are you focused or are you distracted? And over time, that repeated behavior solidifies into your life's outcomes.
Now, to understand that neural response step, we need to look at 3 of your brain's major operating systems. First, there's the threat system, your ancient survival circuit. Then, you've got the executive system. Think of it as the CEO of your brain, handling focus and planning. And finally, the default mode network, or DMN. This is your brain's daydreaming mode, responsible for creativity and self-reflection. Your environment is constantly influencing these 3 systems, even when you're not aware of it.
So the obvious question is, how does this actually happen? How can something as simple as the position of your desk or the quality of the light trigger these powerful brain networks?
Well, just look at how direct these connections are. A messy room isn't just ugly, it actually activates your brain's threat system by signaling disorder. Having an open space at your back reduces your executive function because a part of your brain is always monitoring for potential threats. Even something as simple as dim lighting can literally suppress the production of dopamine, your motivation molecule. This isn't philosophy, it's just biology. So, with that scientific foundation laid out, let's turn back to Feng Shui. Because now you'll see that when the ancient masters spoke of things like qi and form, they weren't talking about superstition. They were describing these exact neurological phenomena using powerful metaphors. When they talked about qi, or energy flow, what were they really describing? They were talking about the flow of sensory information, light, sound, movement, into your brain, and the resulting flow of neural energy through your cognitive systems. Good qi is simply an environment that supports calm, focused neural energy. And what about form? This refers to the shapes and arrangements in your space. But it's not about arbitrary rules. It's about how your brain interprets these spatial cues. A sharp corner pointing at you is bad form because your brain subconsciously processes it as a potential threat. And finally, the concept of balance, or yin and yang. This is the ultimate goal. From a neurological perspective, balance is a state of stable and efficient neural activation, an environment where your threat system is calm and your executive system can operate without interference. It's a state of neurological harmony. So let's put it all together.
We can unify this ancient wisdom and modern science into a single model that shows how these forces interact in a continuous cycle. I call it the Neuro-Feng Shui loop.
This slide shows the powerful feedback loop. Your space sets your neural state. That state drives your behavior. Repeated behavior becomes your life pattern, what some might call destiny. But here's the crucial part. That life pattern then influences how you arrange your space. Someone feeling internal chaos will often create a chaotic external space, which reinforces the entire cycle. This loop is why people get stuck.
This brings us to a deeper, more philosophical truth. We're moving beyond the mechanics and into the meaning of your space.
Your room is not just a collection of objects in a box. It is a direct, physical manifestation of your internal psychological world. It's your subconscious mind made visible.
I want you to look around your own space right now. It's a mirror. It reflects your emotional state, your unresolved issues, your ambitions, your self-worth, and your personal boundaries. When you change your room, you're not just redecorating, you are changing the psychological architecture you inhabit every single day.
So, let's be absolutely clear. The real power of this practice isn't about attracting luck through some mystical force. It's about creating alignment, a deep, resonant alignment between the person you want to be and the physical environment that shapes you every day.
Your environment is shaping you long before you consciously realize it. This isn't about giving up control to superstition. It's about reclaiming control over the invisible forces that are already shaping your mind every single moment.
I'll leave you with this final thought. We often try to change our lives through sheer force of will, while ignoring the most powerful tool we have, our environment. The secret is to work smarter, not harder. Before you try to change your life, first change the space that holds your life. Because when you do that, you make the change you seek, not just possible, but inevitable.